Okay, so I think we have just about everyone joined in at this time. So I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Alessandra Tino, and I am the Education Specialist here at Truxell CDI. My background is as an educator for about 3 years in the classroom, as well as I've worked with a variety of different educational enterprises across North America. I am really excited to be part of this webinar today with you as a newly merged Truxell CDI company. As part of the merger, we are offering so many more different product lines, services, and opportunities to our customers, including working with Front Row. And I think this is going to be a really exciting webinar for many of you. They have some really great products, and the things they're doing in the classroom are things that I'm very passionate about. So just to get started, if you haven't already had a chance to do so, please fill out the poll questions that are on your screen. We're going to close it off shortly. I just introduced myself. I'm going to talk a little bit about the new merger with Truxell CDI, introduce Front Row and Mark Jones, who will be joining us today. And then he's going to be going through the classroom and how it's actually working against us, 5 statistics about students hearing in the classroom, go over a bit about sound and literacy, talk about the teacher's voice and how children hear, and then finally the evidence of impact. And at the end we'll be doing a Q&A. But we do encourage at any time, if you do have any questions, please use the Q&A box that is on your screen or the chat box, and we'll be monitoring them and we'll be answering them throughout. Okay, so who is Truxell CDI? So we have merged to become your EdTech Solutions powerhouse. What this means is that we're really ready to bring the classrooms of the future today. Together as this new company, we work with over 500 technology partners. Together we've been helping 70 million students across North America. And this really means we provide services like AV Essentials, which will be part of our webinar today, one-to-one learning, collaborative learning services in STEM, school asset management, campus safety, integration installation, as well as many other Truxell CDI services. So again, part of this new merger and with our CDI customers means that we can introduce new products like Front Row, and I'm just about to pass it on to Mark, who will explain a little bit more about audio in the classroom, the importance about it, and then discuss what Front Row has to offer. So Mark, I will pass this over to you. Oh, and he's just muted, so there we go. Now I can hear you.
Great. Thank you, Alessandra. I will go to sharing my screen here. And, all right. Oh, presentation mode, no peeking. All right. Well, good. Good morning, hopefully, or good afternoon to the East Coast. Hopefully everybody can hear me all right, and thank you, Alessandra. I have been in just classroom audio business for over 18 years. I've talked to thousands of educators. My team and I have worked with schools in every state in the country. Front Row works with over 5,000 schools, and our products are used in over 25 countries around the world. There is a very real but invisible barriers to learning in your classrooms. But the good news is there's a proven and easy implemented technology, a solution that can overcome these barriers, give all students equal access to learning, and make the classroom just a better learning environment in general. And so that's what I want to share with you today. There are 20, 30 years and countless studies that have been done analyzing this, more so, I believe, than any other technology I've seen used in the classroom. And the impact that it can make, dollar for dollar, seems to be about the best investment you can make. So as you can see, and as Alessandra already went over the agenda, first we'll discuss the barriers, how they affect learning for students, what the research shows. I'll share what impact classroom audio has made to overcome these barriers, and what the research has shown after classroom audio, and side by side with classrooms without classroom audio. And also get to your questions at the end. We'll have some Q&A. You can feel free to put something in the chat box or in the Q&A box. We'll be sure to address those near the end. So classroom is actually working against us. So there's a lot of just basic things about speech and about a classroom that we're going to cover. Distance from the speaker. Today, there's really no front of a classroom, is there? I mean, teachers are facilitators of learning, and rather than standing and lecturing in the front, maybe as when I went to school, you know, they're moving about the classroom and engaging students in a completely different way. So they're always at different distances from kids in the classroom. Noise. Wow, today's properly run classroom with all of the different teaching pedagogy and instructional methods. It is not quietly obedient, silent kids sitting in rows. Not that I was all that obedient when I was in school, but those kids are often in separate groups, working on different things. They're challenging each other, learning from each other, and that teacher as facilitator role is very common. So today's good classroom is actually this crazy, hectic environment of learning, and teachers have a very difficult, sometimes dynamic learning environment to manage. So when we think about a microphone for a teacher, we're not thinking about sage on the stage. What we're thinking about is this new style of teaching and the dynamic classroom that's going on, regardless of the instructional methodology that's employed. Certainly it is, you'll see a very useful tool. There's echo. That's simply more noise in a room can cause acoustic environments in a space that can hinder instruction and intelligibility of instruction. Brain development. Really, literacy is not about hearing. All of this, you would think sound equipment has a lot to do with hearing, but it's actually to do with brain development. It's the area of the brain that controls literacy is the same part of the brain that controls audio processing. So hearing and literacy very closely linked. There's been a lot of studies around that, and we'll talk about that. And lastly, tech management is a small part. We can't introduce technologies that make a teacher's job harder, more challenging. They're supposed to do the opposite. They're supposed to make a teacher's job easier. So we'll talk about that as well. So 5 quick stats to talk about really the reason why we're here. Any tech in any class, like I said, should make things easier, but we design classrooms to be good acoustic environments. But even in a acoustically good classroom, and normal hearing students, quote, normal, mean that they're still missing a part of what the teacher is saying in studies that are showing the further you are. Now, if you're looking real fine there, you'll see that this famous study by Crandall-Smaldino, it was a study with children with hearing impairment, and many of these were back in the early days, over 20 years ago when classroom audio companies sprung up. We were all making equipment for children with hearing impairment. These studies, when creating a baseline, showed that quote unquote normal students without hearing loss were still missing things. The baseline showed a problem with distance from the teacher. Next, we found that any child could be missing some of what's being spoken simply because of what we call otitis media in the ears, hearing loss due to infection. 43% of elementary school students at any time could have a difficulty hearing. So it's not just the diagnosed hearing loss. Children spend a majority of their time in the classroom listening to learn, especially in the younger elementary grades. As we know, the old saying that first you learn to read, then you read to learn. It's very important that the child have equal access to spoken instruction in the classroom, and the measurements show that they may be missing a significant hearing, a part of that through difficulty in hearing in the classroom. Fourth, this one again, in recording a baseline, when talking about classroom acoustics, this study was seeing the effect of that on children with hearing impairment. There isn't a good spot to sit in the classroom. Even for the average student, again, the baseline normal hearing student was missing a good percentage of what the teacher was saying. And I think that'll become more evident as I share some more of this research. Here's one to see how does that actually impact academic outcomes. Well, in this study, the effects of classroom amplification used in a classroom versus classrooms that didn't have it. We looked at a few different grade levels, and there was significant improvements in spelling performance at the elementary level when in the classrooms using classroom audio versus classrooms that didn't. So that may be a little hard to understand. What's hard to understand about that is because we're adult learners. I've had educators sit in the back of a classroom that we've walked into while trying to explain what benefit so many schools in the U.S. have used. At our estimations, up to 30% of all K-12 classrooms in the U.S. are already using classroom amplification. That's significant. And if your school isn't, then that would ask, well, why aren't we? And why are they using it? And what's the benefit there? But it's not difficult to see that as an adult, we may see that, oh, I can hear just fine. Why are they missing so much of the language? Well, children and adults don't hear the same way. Teachers will say things to me at times like, oh, I have a teacher's voice. You know, I have a big booming voice. Well, unfortunately, the science doesn't show that that helps with literacy and understanding. And when we project our voice, the only thing we can put air behind is vowels. And 60% of what gives meaning to words is soft consonant sounds. If I say, and I don't know how the microphone on my computer is going to pick this up, but if I say sat, fat, cat, the meaning in those words are in the soft consonant sounds at the beginning. A TH sound, everybody try to yell that for me. You can't put big teacher voice behind a soft F, a TH, an S, a C, you see what I mean. You can't project that or overcome these barriers, these acoustical obstacles in the classroom by projecting your voice. The meaning isn't there. And the speech pathologists and the audiologists at your districts, they understand this, and they understand that the meaning comes from these soft consonant sounds. And in order to get that to everyone, you can't do it through using a loud teacher voice. So adults also hear better because we have context and a language database. Children's brains, we talked a bit about brain development. The area of their brain that controls literacy is the same part that's stimulated through hearing. If that part of their brain is not completely developed till they're 15 years old. Now, if you have kids, as I do, that makes a lot of sense. Their brains aren't completely developed till they're 15. Oh, yeah, no, it's just about literacy. But that part of the brain isn't completely developed, and they need to hear more precisely the spoken instruction from the teacher and all learning, especially at the younger grades. So if a couple of words, your brain as an adult can say, omit a couple of words, leave out a couple of words. In fact, it's quite automatic. Your brain fills in the blanks. Children that are learning new words every day, that are learning English language, whether English is a second language learner, all children are language learners in the younger grades. And so their ability to fill in those blanks is greatly hindered. And when they miss some of the context, some of the meaning of the words through soft consonant sounds, it becomes almost impossible for them to fill in those blanks. And when they aren't able to understand, they disconnect. Just as you or I would if we're unable to hear clearly in an environment where we were straining to listen to the instruction. So as I mentioned, and there's a study to show that the benefits to English language as a second language learners, they greatly benefit, and the improvement in literacy gains is so much more dramatic with them as they need to hear very, very precisely. Next, student engagement. Now, this is a little anecdotal, and as I said, I've talked to thousands and thousands of teachers over the last 18 years all across the country, and the reported behavior is dramatic. They're not having to repeat directions as often. Off-task behavior goes down. It's not about amplification. Get the idea of a public address system out of your mind. It's not about being loud. It's about distributing your voice evenly around the classroom. I hope I don't blow anybody's ears out. Teacher voice projecting yourself all across the room is not exactly a pleasant thing to listen to. Just as I'm talking to you now and you can hear me speak in a much more nurturing tone, it changes the tone of the classroom. And I can speak like this and be heard equally on the far side of the room. It changes behavior in the classroom. So it's not just about comprehension, it's an improved learning environment all the way around. Okay, improved attentiveness, all these sorts of things are a bit anecdotal, but are shown from us talking to teachers over 20 years. Now, let's talk about the teachers themselves. I believe that every teacher should have a microphone just for the benefits alone to the teachers, or just for the benefits alone to the students. But if you know teachers, and you probably do, then you know that they're the #1 occupation for vocal damage and laryngitis. We've even all known people that have nodules on their throat, heaven forbid, have had that sort of thing from vocal strain. Now some, it's like a badge of honor, right? It's the bragging rights. I've got a teacher's voice. But the truth is that it's quite damaging. And even if they escape the damage, the energy they expel, they may not quite understand. At the end of the week, they reported to me going home, exhaustion. That's from projecting your voice in that manner. If you or I, as a professional at a conference, would get up and speak in front of 20 or 30 of our colleagues, and we wouldn't think of doing that to a large room without using a microphone. It's not just the fact, maybe we could project our voice for an hour or two, but it's nicer for people to listen. Isn't it, sitting in that room, if the person up front would just use the microphone so we can hear them easier? So now I can look at my notes and be able to hear without having to strain and look at their mouth to try to get context because they're not amplified in the front of the room. So it's a better learning environment, but teachers are taking a high percentage of sick days simply due to, nationally speaking, due to vocal fatigue and laryngitis, and classroom audio can completely eliminate that. So that's a big benefit alone there for teachers, and they report not having to give their voice a rest in the afternoon or towards the end of the week because of vocal fatigue. So this is an informal reading inventory, which is a test used to gauge improvement on classes with and without a classroom audio system. 7-level growth from an informal reading inventory. Significant changes. It's been long correlated that poor literacy scores lead to poor graduation rates. I think that some of the ones I've heard say, tell me what your 3rd grade literacy scores are, I'll tell you what your graduation rates are going to be from high school. Again, it's the learn to read, read to learn. Increased speech clarity and phonemic awareness, which is what they call hearing all those soft consonant sounds. It means an effective instruction, basically speaking. So if we can increase speech clarity, we have more effective instruction, particularly in areas of reading and spelling. Literacy gains, which are significant, which is what we're looking at here. It strengthens the auditory areas of the brain, that part that impacts literacy. And that's why we read to our children. I mean, we've all heard that one, right? Read to your kids, because we're actually improving that area of the brain. That's why that increases. So take a look at this and read this for me if you can. The average student misses 25% of spoken instruction content. Can you imagine if you had to read a newspaper that looked like that? You would just stop trying after a while, or tune out, as some students do when they're missing things. Another study that simply shows that distance increases, or as distance increases, word recognition decreases. Just makes sense, right? I mean, the further away you are, the harder it is to hear, the more you're going to miss. Again, you can't overcome this with teacher voice. You can't project those consonants to the back of the room. Here's an illustration. You know, you've got noise, you've got distance from the teacher, you've got signal to noise ratio, which is a measurement we use to try to determine how far and how loud something needs to be. And the proof that this is real, these invisible barriers, is that teachers project their voice all day. They don't do it just to be loud. They do it so that the kids on the other side of the room can hear. The difference is, instead of using a tool, they're using their own voice. And the teacher's job is difficult enough. This gives them a tool to be able to do that effectively. So this is the results of the study. Again, the further away, the lower the word recognition goes down. Just makes a lot of sense. For English language learners, as I mentioned earlier, this is very significant. The dark blue is with the classroom audio system, and the blue is without. It starts off pretty even at 6 feet from the teacher. You know, this by now you might be figuring out why we named our company over 20 years ago Front Row, right? We're trying to give every student a front row seat. As you move further away from the teacher, the word recognition goes down. And this is, as you can see here, with English language as a second language learners, very dramatic. Just 24 feet or across the classroom, losing half of their word recognition when not using classroom audio. But what is significant too is if you look at the dark blue, the classroom audio, with classroom audio, it stays pretty consistent all around the room. Again, not about amplification, but more about clarity and distribution. That's what classroom audio is about. It's not about a teacher being loud. It's about hearing those soft consonant sounds, the part that give meaning, and distributing that around the room so everyone can hear effectively. Everyone has equal access to the spoken instruction. So we've been doing classroom audio systems for a very long time. As I said, our guesstimates around 30% of K through 12 classrooms in the United States have experienced or are using classroom audio. Teachers are wearing microphones. And let me tell you, great things happen when teachers wear microphones. From all of these studies to just anecdotal feedback from teachers, they wouldn't want to teach without it once having one. Between the vocal fatigue, having not to repeat directions, off-task behavior going down, just making that wonderful, chaotic learning environment an easier thing to manage, teachers report that they love using this sort of equipment. So what kind of impact could you expect to see in implementing this? Well, here's some studies that have gone on since I've been doing this and that were done by schools individually. A lot of the other stuff we saw was audiologists and speech pathologists, but this was done by schools in Canby, Oregon. You know, first, fourth, and fifth grade, dramatic increases in reading assessment scores and fluency. In West Orange, New Jersey, huge reading increases, great improvements. In Florida, a couple of studies working with English language learners in word recognition. And these are studies done within schools, not by the academics. What kind of experience could you experience at your school with your students and your teachers? Well, I think you should try and find out. So here's a couple of examples that we make out of many. These are very popular. The Juno is a plug-and-play sound tower. This is how you'd implement this sort of thing. The Pro Digital is an installed speaker system in the ceiling. And we have many, many more that involve audio-video control. Of course, these also amplify the multimedia in the room because we know instruction and curriculum now provides a lot of different types of media sources, and that needs to be amplified as well. So all of that plays through these sound systems. These can include things like lesson capture, recording both audio and video. They can include classroom AV management and control. So it's so much more than just the microphone. But today, we want to talk about the academic outcomes that are available to you through implementing this sort of technology. You know, with these two pieces of equipment or any other, truly, the benefits from any other classroom audio equipment, classroom audio itself is actually a very simple technology. It's a microphone and an amplifier and some speakers. We've gone to great lengths to make these products so much more than that, with special EQing in the DSP to overemphasize those soft consonant sounds for higher clarity. You know, we've been able to put in feedback suppression and lesson capture and other technologies in order to make this an incredibly useful tool for the teachers. But in a nutshell, classroom audio, it's a simple technology that can make significant impact on academic outcomes. Now, I want to put a little asterisk by that. By no means do I or anybody here think that we are what raises test scores. You can walk up and down any educational conference and you'll have all sorts of people in different booths telling you that they're going to raise test scores. Well, we know the truth. Good teachers raise test scores. They're the real heroes. They've got an incredibly difficult job meeting kids at all kinds of different learning levels and language levels in their classrooms, and they have to try to meet all of them at their particular academic need with constant assessment. It's an incredibly difficult job. We know that what we provide is just a tool that helps make them more effective. The teachers you've invested in, the curriculum you've invested in, the good instructional methodologies, that's what raises test scores. Good teachers raise test scores. What we are is a tool that helps make those teachers highly effective, making sure that every kid has access and helps them with this incredibly difficult job that they're doing. And for that, we all thank them. As an investment, classroom audio offers proven results, more so than any other technology you can put in the classroom. And here's a key one. Easy implementation, higher adoption rates than any other technology you'll ever try to put in your schools. You know, changing your instructional methodology with your teachers is incredibly difficult. If you've been through it, changing curriculum, very, very hard. Even implementing a new technology, you employ instructional technologists and do training to try to integrate that technology with the instruction. And after all of that, it may be used only a small percentage of the time in the classroom. Classroom audio is very simple to implement, and we have very high adoption because you put the microphone on and do what you were doing before. Now, there's a few tips and tricks that we'd like to share with the teachers about being able to quickly mute and unmute your microphone, having students use student microphones to share, you know, the talking stick, pass that around. They really love it when the teacher wears the mic, and they're very quick to adapt to new technology, especially ours, where they go, oh, you know, Mr. Jones, your microphone's not on, because they like the way it sounds, and it creates an easy listening experience for them. But you'll never have a technology that you implement in your schools that goes as easily and as high and easy adoption with gratitude from the teachers in your schools. They tell us that they don't know how they taught without it after wearing it for a while. It takes them a week to stop doing this, but once they do, they love the way that this ability to be able to speak in this manner in the classroom and yet capture everyone's attention is easy to do using this tool. So to experience these benefits for yourself, to learn, if you haven't used classroom audio, what a difference it can make for your students, we of course encourage you to just try it with your teachers and your students and experience for yourself what kind of feedback that you get from them, and have your teachers see the difference in engagement and attention from the students, much less the measured outcomes from that. And to do so, well, you should contact your CDI sales representative and talk to them about how you might be able to get some of these products in your school for you to try. In addition to our classroom audio products, if you'll permit me a small plug, Front Row is the most successful implementation of IP-based paging and intercom bells and emergency alert systems in any school. An award-winning product called Conductor that integrates seamlessly with our classroom audio systems, so that you've got paging intercom bells and emergency alerts coming through the classroom audio systems and turning our mic into an emergency notification button as well. All of that, you can find out more by talking with your CDI rep and maybe one of our salespeople at Front Row as well, as we work together greatly as partners. That kind of equipment is all available. And with that, I'll turn it back to Alessandra after one more thing. We have a current promotion that's available for you as well. One of the things we love best and teachers love best about using the classroom audio system is the student microphone. We're going to give one free away to everybody that's hung out with me this far. With every system you buy, a $300 value, student mic included at no additional charge if you buy a system to try at your school. So again, my name is Mark Jones for Front Row. You can look up more about our products at gofrontrow.com. And I thank you for your time today. Do we have anything in the Q&A or chat for questions that we need to get to at this time?
Well, thank you so much, Mark. I don't see anything in the Q&A or questions right now, so please take this opportunity, everyone, to ask any questions. As Mark said, if you do have anything that comes up later on, you can always reach out to your CDI representative. We will also be sending out a recording of today's webinar following most likely tomorrow, and a link of where you can reach out if you do have further questions. So just seeing here if there's anything that's come through. Oh, someone's asked how much is it and if they're able to try one out. So in terms of cost, so Adrian, we can get this in terms of cost to you from the rep. We'll have someone reach out to you about specifics with that. And in terms of trying them out in demos, Mark, do you? I'm sorry, I don't have it off my head right now.
Wasn't sure if I was still live there.
Yeah.
I'd be glad to answer that. So to give you an example, those two products that I showed you there, and again, as a manufacturer, I'm just going to quote MSRP. You can certainly do a little better than that by talking to your students. but those products, you know, are going to have a range of $1,200 to $1,500 depending on what microphones together, that sort of thing, all the way up to our whole classroom integrated and installed systems. There are a lot of options, so I suggest you talk to your reps. But yeah, they start as inexpensively as around $1,200, and there isn't that's plug and play. No additional installation charges or that thing, like the Juno, which is why that's probably our most popular product that we sell, because you can plug it in and instantly start using it and get the benefits of that. It is available to mount on the wall as well, but it is a plug and play product.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and for demonstration or pilots or something special like that, again, talk to your CDI rep.
Perfect, thank you. Any additional questions? Okay, I don't think we have anything else coming in, so thank you so much everyone for joining us today. I really hope you found today's webinar to be informative. As I mentioned at the beginning, Front Row is something that I am, as myself, really excited that we now have this offering. We will be sending out this webinar to you most likely tomorrow, and if you do have any further questions, you can reach out and the CDI rep will be able to answer everything for you. And thank you, Mark, for joining us today and for your very informative webinar.
Thank you very much, Alessandra. Great working with you. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye. Have a great day.